Hello everyone, this is the coffee watercolour drawing of a trainer. So this is linked to our belongings project. So today you can either use a pencil and some cotton buds or a tortillon, which is just a rolled up piece of tissue paper, and you can do it in pencil and smudge it if you don't have any coffee. Okay, if you have coffee, I have got a little pot, a little cup of coffee there, just a little bit. I use espresso coffee because it's nicely ground. So if you've got sort of coffee that's a little bit more chunky than that, sort of grind it down a little bit so it's nice and smooth. Okay, I've got a pot of water and some brushes there. Okay, so if you can have a go at this. If you have a tin of watercolours, you could do it in watercolour if you want to do it in watercolour. If not, have a go at this coffee version like this. Okay, so first thing we need to do is we need to work out the range of coffee tones that we can get. Okay, so I'm just choosing my brush. That brush, I'll have this one. So I'm just using a nice flat brush. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a little bit of the coffee just onto my paper here. Okay, so I'm just going to use a little bit to see what type of tonal work I can get from this coffee. So you can see I can get quite a dark tonal range there. If I wash my brush, okay, and I pull it along a bit with just the water on it, okay, I can see that I've got a sort of mid-tone there. And then if I do a little bit more water on it and just drag it down a little bit, you can see that it's getting lighter. Okay, so you can see that it's getting lighter there. So that is my tonal range. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remember that I need to leave the highlights. Okay, so anything that I'm doing, I need to leave highlights. So I'm going to use the lightest colour in the mid-tone first, okay? I'm going to put it on and I'm looking at my picture here. I've printed out a picture of them trainers there, my son's trainers, and I'm just going to work my way around with the coffee, leaving highlights, okay? So I'm just starting to add in my tonal area with the coffee, just like you would do with paints, okay? So I'm just going to drag it round and start to build up a sort of tonal drawing of my shoe here, well, of my son's shoe. Okay, remember to leave some highlights. Now, because I've got this well here, I can use this well of coffee just on my paper or on a spare bit of paper, whatever you've got, and I'm just using that to reload my brush. Okay, so I can use my brush on the side to get a nice thinner line there. Okay, and I can come up to here. Okay, so I'm just going to work my way through really quickly, just adding in darker tones. Okay, I am not covering the whole of the shoe. Okay, what I want to see is these tones built up, and I'll do a little section so you can see when I'm building up the tones a bit more gradually. Okay, so I'm going to concentrate on one little area in a minute. So I'm just filling it in for a little bit so you can see where I'm going with it. Obviously the Nike tick is darker. Okay, so it took me about 15-20 minutes to make the drawing. Okay, so it'll take you a little bit longer than that, but just take your time with it because it's the drawing that makes it good. Okay, so if you haven't got your drawing in the correct proportion, then you're going to struggle with other things. Okay, so try and make sure that you're measuring how big things are with your pencil. If things go into the distance, they get smaller. If things are closer to you, they get bigger. Okay, so it's up to you to plan that drawing out first. The drawing is really important. Okay, Now, if you haven't got watercolour or the coffee or a paintbrush or whatever you might not have, okay, try and get yourselves organised so you've got like a selection of materials ready for these lessons, okay. And what we're going to do is just build up gradually with the coffee. Okay, so I'm going to just show you, I'm going to go darker inside the shoe with the coffee. Okay, so I'm just going to go darker in here. And then I'm going to build up and build up with darker tone, okay? So with watercolour, you put it on and you can take it off, okay? But you need to leave the white areas, okay? Otherwise it'll be... So I'm just loading up with some coffee there again. So just putting some darker coffee down the bottom here, okay? So I'm just going to do some darker areas where you can sort of see that the laces are going behind that one. The lace goes into a hole there. This one's sitting behind here. Okay, so you can see I'm using a whole range of coffee tones, making things stand out against other things. Okay, so obviously it's a white trainer, so it's going to be a little bit lighter. Okay, I'm just going to put some darker bits on. I'm going to run this around where the stitching is, maybe. Just run that around the edge there. Just a little broken line as if it's the stitching. Okay, running it around like that. Okay, you might want to put some darker bits down the bottom here, as if this is like the under tread bit. This has got a darker line there going there, and this has got darker bits going onto here. Okay. So I want you to build up like that. Okay, so starting with your tonal range or with your pencil, it depends what you want to do. Okay, so I'm going to come back to that in part 2.